that innovation has probably had more gains because of what we've seen broader in the conversation of women's sport. And I think those two things happening in tandem together can only benefit the end outcome, which is trying to change the narrative that women can own their own bodies and own their own spaces and realize their own potential. And I love that idea of allyship. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly frustration, but I would say that there's incredible amount of, energy and optimism still. You just have to sort of temper the two. I think women's football in Australia was a catalyst for so many other sports, kind of directly and indirectly within. I'm just going to talk about Australia for a second. So I'd say that women's soccer in Australia has had an incredible amount of growth and resurgence. And actually, there's so many talented players that have been multidisciplinary in that sense. So we have phenomenal cricketers who can, play both. A lot of our AFLW players came from other sporting codes because they at the time were the only games they could continue on the participation pathway. So it's had this amazing blend and kind of burst effect, which has meant incredible gains have happened overall for women's athletes in Australia. So that's a definite plus. It's a build effect. I think in many ways, AFLW was the first mover, but like we always see, that creates a massive space in an industry and category. And then it's great to see kind of new innovators come on board and sort of build on that. I think women's football here in the UK is doing phenomenally well. And I think it's fantastic to see like great companies backing them. This is where it makes the difference, is when you see commercial dollars come into the mix. So, even in my time at Nike, working on the Women's Football World Cup, I mean, that was, I wasn't a kind of a key part of that, but I remember the importance that Nike put behind that, and the value about how female athletes and women footballers needed to be represented, not just with a level of, baseline equality, but with a real sense of hero, like there had to be a level of sort of stardom and kind of heroing in a way that you don't quite see in the men's. I think there are also like very amazing kind of independent voices. So certainly in US soccer, there's like incredible people like Megan, and also here in the UK, Alex Scott. One of my favorite all-time soccer players is Sam Kerr in Australia. There are these great kind of phenomenal independent heroes and people on the field, who are then matched with phenomenal sort of commentators, people who call the game as well off field. And I think it's this cluster of independent people that are coming together and actually creating changes in their own little spaces, which then have a kind of a positive network effect broadly. So kind of a long way of basically saying that I do think that there is great innovation taking place. It's just happening probably slower than I would love.